Look, here's the situation. There was a man and he was with us for a while and he went off on his own and he says he met an angel and that this angel gave him some new scriptures. And there's a few people like that think that they have the truth coming out of their mouth from an angel. And there's one book that's supposed to supersede the Bible. In chapter 4 verse 34 it talks about how you deal with a troublesome woman. Of course, there's times when women will argue with their husbands and there'll be strife and trouble and there's maybe a bit of stubbornness or whatever it is. Of course, the men have their own problems, but in these situations, what this book is saying is that the first thing you do is you stop talking to the woman. And that's, of course, going to be very difficult for both parties, and maybe particularly the women. They like to talk and they're not being spoken to. There's quiet, there's silence, Now, you escalate it from there. In the second part of this teaching, in the chapter 4 verse 34, it says, stop having marital relations with them. Now, I'm talking about what husbands and wives do in the privacy of their own room, and we don't need to go into that, but what I'm saying is that this is the escalation. So that's suggesting then maybe that there's marital relations even when there's no talking going on, because this is an escalation. And fair play to the woman if that's what she's doing, if that's what she thinks is right, that there's a problem, and yet there's still going to be some of this marital relations going on. But then if that doesn't work, this man is supposed to now stop sleeping with this woman, and that's going to stress the man out, probably more than the woman. So you take a wee while now to see how this develops. Now, the next thing it's saying, and there's 3 steps, that's the first and second step. The third step is to beat the woman. And it's not going to take long when you go from not sleeping with her, if you're the kind of man that'll beat her, to go ahead and beat her, because you want it to get resolved and then you can sleep with her again, probably. This kind of man. However, I've spoken to this man and some of his people, and they'll be saying, oh, we never actually do it. And I'm like, well, hold on a minute now. Your book is saying that you're supposed to do it, so that means your God believes that it's okay to do it. Do you believe it's okay to do it? And some of them will say no and directly contradict God, making out that their God is wrong and immoral. But others will say other stuff, like it's not really beating, it's just tapping with a stick, or it's more of a symbolic thing. That doesn't make sense though, like to go from not speaking to not sleeping and then you just tap somebody with a stick. How's that going to make them do it? The goal of this whole procedure is to make this woman do what she's told by beating her. So I don't swallow that garbage that this is all about tapping somebody with a wee stick. This is about beating a woman. And I have to say that this goes beyond, let's say, the rules for warfare in the Old Testament with the Jews, and it goes beyond in the New Testament, where you have soldiers who were in the church and you had armed civil servants who were in the church, people that were maybe going to kill people. Sometimes you have to kill somebody and to protect the innocent. But to say, for a God to say that all the men in the world, generally speaking, those that are in the armies killing people, the stronger physically and more violent parties, in their marriages with women, can beat them into submission. That's a whole different kind of war. That's a war on the whole of humanity in their own homes, and the weakest people physically being beaten by the strongest. And that is an evil God. That is an evil God that would write that. And that's the problem I have there. What does the Bible say? 1 Peter chapter 3 verse 7. Husbands, in the same way, be considerate as you live with your wives, and treat them with respect as the weaker partner and as heirs with you of the gracious gift of life, so that nothing will hinder your prayers. That's the closest verse that you might have to a procedure for how to deal with the weaker partner whenever they are weaker, whenever there's something that's a problem. To be considerate, to treat them with respect, and treat them as an heir of the gracious gift of life, so that nothing will hinder your prayers. Now you compare that to beating a woman. You have to understand that they're two very different gods. Wouldn't you agree? That's the situation.